Everything is gone, or at least it feels that way. The relationship, the career, the plan, the version of yourself that you worked so hard to build, the identity, the certainty, the sense of knowing exactly who you are and where you are going, gone. And you are standing in the middle of what used to be your life, wondering how something this complete, this total, could possibly be allowed by a God who claims to love you. You didn't ask for this level of stripping, and yet here you are, with less than you have ever had and more questions than you have ever carried. Stay with me for the next few minutes, because I am going to tell you exactly why God strips everything away, and the answer is going to change everything about how you see what you are standing in right now. When God strips everything away, it does not feel like love. It feels like abandonment, like the ground being pulled out from under you with no warning and no soft landing. And the natural response is to conclude, something has gone terribly wrong. I must have made a mistake. Or worse, God is not who I thought he was. I need you to hear something right now. The stripping is not evidence that God is not who you thought he was. It is evidence that he is exactly who he said he is, a God who loves you enough to remove what is hindering you, even when the removal is painful. Because here is the truth about destruction and construction. From the inside, they feel identical. Both involve things being torn down. Both involve loss and disorientation. The only difference is the intention. Destruction tears down to leave rubble. Construction tears down to build something greater. And God never tears down to leave rubble. Let me get specific about what the stripping was actually removing, because I think you have been grieving things that were taken without fully understanding what those things actually were. The first thing being stripped was false security. Before the stripping, you had a sense of security. It felt solid, but it was built on the wrong foundation, not out of foolishness, but because the foundation looked solid from the outside. The relationship that felt permanent, the career that felt stable. None of them were wrong to value, but all of them had become substitutes for the only security that is actually unshakable. The security that comes from knowing who you are in God, not in your roles, not in your achievements, in God. The stripping removed the substitutes, not to leave you with nothing, but to leave you with the only thing that cannot be stripped. The second thing being stripped was a limited version of yourself. The you that existed before, as genuine as it was a smaller version of who you are capable of becoming. Not a bad version, a limited one, built within the constraints of the life you were living. And those constraints, comfortable as they were also confining. The stripping removed the constraints, and what emerges from that removal, the version of you that grows in the space where the constraints used to be, is larger, freer, more fully yourself than the constrained version could ever have been. Before the stripping, you had a direction, a plan, a trajectory, a sense of where your life was heading, and it felt right. But God could see something you could not see from inside it. That the direction, as good as it looked, was not aligned with where he was trying to take you. Not wrong necessarily, just not the right destination for who you were created to be. And the only way to change your direction, the only way to redirect someone who is moving confidently in the wrong direction, is to stop them. Sometimes gently, sometimes not. The stripping was a redirection, and the new direction it is pointing you toward, even if you cannot see it clearly yet, is more aligned with your actual purpose than the old one ever was. This is not the first time God has stripped someone down to nothing before building them into something extraordinary. This pattern runs through the entire history of people who are called to carry something significant. And I want to show you the pattern clearly, because when you can see it in other people's stories, you can begin to recognize it in your own. Job lost everything: wealth, children, health, reputation. Everything that had defined his life was taken in what felt like an instant. And in the middle of his stripping, Job asked the same questions you are asking. Why? And God's answer, when it finally came, was not an explanation. It was a revelation, a direct encounter with the God who had been present through every moment of the stripping, who had never left. And what followed was a restoration so complete that it made everything Job had before look like a beginning, rather than a destination. David was stripped of his status, his safety, and his home, anointed as king as a teenager, and then hunted like an animal for years, living in caves, wondering if the promise had been a mistake. Everything the anointing seemed to promise was stripped away before it was given. And in those years of stripping, David wrote the Psalms, the most honest, raw, and spiritually profound expressions of human suffering. Words that could only have been written by someone who had been stripped to the very core. You see, the stripping did not delay David's assignment. It was the preparation for it. Your stripping is not delaying your assignment either. It is preparing you for it. On the other side of the stripping, in the space created when everything non-essential has been removed, something becomes possible that was not possible before. Clarity becomes possible. When the noise of the old life is gone, when the busyness and the performance has been stripped away, you can finally hear yourself think. Really think, not the surface thinking, but the deep thinking that asks the real questions. What do I actually want? What do I actually believe? What actually matters to me, when everything that was distracting me has been removed? The stripping creates the silence that makes this thinking possible. And in that silence, the most important clarity of your life becomes available. Authenticity becomes possible. When you have nothing left to protect, when the image and the reputation has been stripped away, you are free to be exactly who you actually are. Not the performed version, not the version built to be accepted. The real one. And the real you, the one that emerges from the stripping, is more powerful than anything the constructed version could have produced. Because authenticity is magnetic in a way that performance can never be, and the world that is waiting for what you carry is waiting for the real you. Not the constructed one. New foundations become possible. The old life, as comfortable as it was built on foundations that the stripping revealed were not solid enough. And now that the old structure has been cleared, you have the opportunity that most people never get. To build from scratch, on the right foundation, on truth instead of performance, on calling instead of convention. That opportunity to build the right life from the ground up is one of the rarest and most precious gifts that can be given to a human being, and the stripping gave it to you. Standing inside it is another thing entirely. Here is how to stand in the stripping without being destroyed by it. First, grieve what was lost. Do not rush past the grief. What was stripped was real. It mattered. Give yourself permission to grieve it fully, not forever, but fully, because grief that is honored moves through you. Second, resist the urge to immediately rebuild the same thing. The stripping created space, sacred space, and the most dangerous thing you can do is to fill that space as quickly as possible with the same things that were just removed. Sit in the space. Let it be empty for as long as it needs to be empty, because what is supposed to fill it cannot arrive while you are frantically filling it with substitutes. Third, ask what the stripping is revealing. Not just what it took, but what it revealed. About yourself, about what you actually value. The stripping is a revelation as much as it is a removal. Fourth, trust the architect. You are not looking at rubble, you are looking at a cleared site, and a cleared site means a builder is coming. The same God who stripped everything away is the same God who has a design for what gets built in the space, a design that is better than the original structure, more solid, more true, more aligned. Trust the architect. He is not finished with this site. He is only just beginning. When God strikes everything away, it is not because he has given up on you. It is because he has not. The final version of your life required a cleared sight, a fresh foundation. You are standing on cleared ground right now, and cleared ground is the most powerful place a person can stand, because anything can be built there. The right things, the true things. Let God build, chosen one. He knows what he is doing with this site, and what he is building is going to be worth every single thing that was stripped away to make room for it. If this spoke to a season of stripping you are going through, please share it with someone who needs to understand why God allows this kind of loss. Subscribe to Sacred Chosen Journey for weekly messages made specifically for you, and drop a hashtag in the comments if God has stripped something away from your life that you are still trying to understand. Let us know you're trusting the architect.